Now, we've actually here on Breakfast been speaking to Paul McCartney because it may be 35 years since the Beatles went their separate ways, but Sir Paul is far from hanging up his guitar and calling it a day.
That's right, his latest album, Chaos and Creation in the Backyard, has been dubbed his best record in a decade, and he's also written a children's book, High in the Clouds, it's called.
Well, not one to put his feet up. He's currently touring the United States, and that's where I met up with him for an exclusive interview, and I was trying to find out whether his album producer really thought some of his songs were rubbish.
And try and swallow it, but really it just kind of affect me inside. So we soon learned how to work with each other, and I said, why don't you like it? Talk to me about it. And he said, well, I like the opening line, but the second one doesn't seem to go anywhere.
Didn't he make you play the instruments yourself, which is something that you'd done on your first solo album?
Yeah, he didn't make me.
Suggested.
He asked me to, yeah. What the bass player's going to play. And there's a sort of the feel and a little bit more cohesive thing.
You said once that you felt that your solo work, in many senses, you had to compete with what you'd done while you were with the Beatles. Is that still true? Do you still feel that sometimes?
Yeah, I mean, that's always going to be true. You know, it's the same for everyone. Everyone who makes, for instance, a great first album is always trying to make the second one live up to it. So I'm always trying to write the great song, and I was when I was in the Beatles. So I don't actually worry about that. I just think, hey, you know what? I wrote them. Come on. Some people do say, isn't it a bit of a burden, you know, to have to live with that? You kidding? I wouldn't like to be without it. We get a lot of people in the audience loving the Wings songs we do, or loving the new stuff we do, because they want to hear something new.
Just tell me a bit about the book you've just written, High in the Clouds, the children's book. What was it that sparked that?
It originally was an idea for a film. We had a character called Wirral the Squirrel, William the Squirrel, Wirral for short. I wanted something that was meaningful, because I was going to spend a lot of time on this project. I wanted it to mean something in the end.
There's also this personal element, though, isn't there? Because Wirral the Squirrel, that character, right at the beginning of the book, loses his mother, and I mean, you went through that yourself as a teenager.
Yeah, I think, you know, you write from your heart, and if at the beginning of a story something like that happens, I think it engages you a bit more, and you now care what Wirral does, and you now care that he finds the island where all the animals can be safe. So I suppose you could say they're personal echoes for me, yeah.
I know you've been asked this a million times before, but I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask you about John Lennon, just because it's coming up to the 25th anniversary of his death. And I just wonder, I mean, there are so many reflections coming out at this particular point because of that anniversary. Take us back, if you will, to the moment when you heard that he had died.
It was terrible. It was early in the morning for us, and I got a phone call from a manager who said, you know, you're sitting down. And he told me, and it was just terrible. It was just a terrible shock. I wrote all the songs with him, so I say to people when we were kids, I mean, we slept together, top and tailed in beds and hitchhiking and stuff. So, I mean, we were just totally, you know, mates.
Were you ever competitive?
Oh, you kidding? Yeah. So we would compete with each other. He'd do a line, and then I'd try and make it go somewhere better. Then he'd try and make it go somewhere better. Or if we'd write songs individually, I'd write something, and we talked about it. He'd go, right, got to write something better than that.
And when you look back now, I mean, do you regret the way that things became difficult?
So, okay, even though the Beatles broke up and with a bit of acrimony, we actually spent a lot of time together laughing. And for me, that's what I remember.
And you had some great times.
Sure did.
Paul McCartney, thank you very much for talking to us. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Let go of my hand. Oh, God, on the breakfast television, really? Honestly? Oh, come on. No, come on, this is embarrassing.
Yes.
I was looking for help there from anyone.
On the programme.
No, I promise he was... Oh, never mind. But my side of the story is that I was trying to let go of his hand at
And
exactly
if you
that
want
moment.
proof,
But
go
no
to
one
the
will ever
website,
believe me.
bbc.uk/breakfast, and you've written a little piece about...
What it was like to meet him in the US and go to his concert afterwards. He's got amazing energy, actually. He just, you know, he gives it to his audiences.
He charmed you, didn't he?
Yes, he did. I have to admit that. I have to admit being at least a little bit charmed.
Let's get the weather. Here comes the sun. Or maybe not. Helen.
Not my particular favourite, actually. Mine's Pipes of Peace, Simon, but good morning.